A pretext is a purpose or a motive alleged or an appearance assumed in order to cloak the real intention or state of affairs.
Initial access. OMI is trying to get into your network.
Listen, this is your manager, and I'm trying to send off an email. I got this document. Need you to confirm a few details. So go ahead and log in and tell me what you think. I need this now, so to make this convenient, here is the link. I'm a threat actor, fishing mark for email is urgent to distract you with it. So how fast you clicked it when you submitted the form with your password in it. You probably couldn't tell there was an actual difference in the URL. The domains look alike though. And to you it looks fine though, but mine had typos and make it look like yours. See, I was in the mood today to make your account a communal space, but then you activated your trap card, and I saw you had 2FA. But I just shrugged, I'ma shake it off. Got on kid gloves, I'ma take them off. Got your phone number, I'ma make a call. I'ma break this wall, it just makes me lol. I'm moving quick, I'm on a mission. Yeah, I heard your network is lit. I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I'm trying to get me a hit. When I go fishing. Yeah, you probably think it's legit. I got you clicking. Yeah. Hello. Hi. I'm calling you from the IT department. We have been under attack by some hackers, and we think that your account might be a target.
Oh no, how do I fix this?
No need to worry, I wrote up a ticket. You'll get a notification from your authenticator app, so please pass me them digits.
1 sec.
Okay.
Yeah. The code is 112345.
Thank you. You fell for the lie, so I hung up the phone without saying goodbye. Cutting it short like a crew cut. Probably think it won't happen to you, but it happened to Uber. They say you win some, you lose some. Boys got a smooth touch hacking you too, bro. You know how I be creeping and I'm logging in your VP, and it probably looks anomalous and logs if you be keeping them. And probably unaware about the shares that have been peeping, and the reason I'll be seeking them. I'm looking for an easy win. You probably thought it was a magic trick, and you're mad you clicked. I'ma stack my chips and bet that a DA password is sitting in an admin script. I'm moving quick, I'm on a mission. Yeah, I heard your network is lit. I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I'm trying to get me a hit. When I go fishing. Yeah, you probably think it's legit. I got you clicking. I'm moving quick, I'm on a mission. Yeah, I heard your network is lit. I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I'm trying to get me a hit. When I go fishing. Yeah, you probably think it's legit. I got you clicking.
Hello everyone. Hello and welcome to this session of the Azure Cloud Security Meetup. So my name is David Okiade. So I'm still expecting my partner. We host the meetup together, Ibrahima. So he's currently busy trying to solve some challenges at work. So he will be joining us very soon. So thanks very much for joining us. So before we get into the main session for today, if you're yet to join the Meetup group, I've put the link in the chat window. Ensure you do so, because that way you get notified when we set up a Meetup session. So we have 2 upcoming Meetup sessions this year. Apart from Jacklyne's session today, we have 2 upcoming Meetup sessions where we're going to be having Joshua back, who has been with us before. And we're talking about some things relating to serverless security in Azure. And then we have Mbuthia, who will be joining us, who is the author of a new tool for pen test in Azure, which is called Badger. So again, you want to make sure that you join the Meetup group if you're yet to, so you can be notified. And I can see now that we have Ibrahima. Hello, Ibrahima. How are you doing? Everything all good? We can't hear you, by the way. I think your mic is muted. If you're saying something. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can hear you loud and clear now.
Connectivity issue, but
oh, I see. Yeah, so I can hear that there's a little bit of some break also, but otherwise everything all looks good. Yeah, so we have Jacklyne with us today. Jacklyne is going to be speaking with us about cloud security operations and how to make sure that the fortress is strong. So I'm really, really looking forward to like the session. So I'm not sure what your initial thoughts are.
I just know that it will be a great session again, but
And also just to mention, if anyone has any questions as we go through, yeah, I can hear you. I think there's a bit of delay between yourself and myself. So if anyone has any question as we go through the session, put your questions in the chat window.
Change the network.
No problems at all. So if anyone has any question as we go through this, put your questions in the chat window and we're going to ask them to Jacklyne at the end. So for now, let's go ahead and bring Jacklyne on. Hello, Jacklyne, how are you doing?
Hi, David. How you doing?
Yeah.
It's so nice to be here. I animated my video, but I think I should be live now. Hi, how are you? It's interesting and exciting to be here. I'm pretty excited about tonight's session. Yes.
No problems at all. So again, I'm looking forward to this session. For those that may not know, I've had the privilege of working with Jacklyne in the background, working on some interesting research project. And Jacklyne is really, really brilliant with what she does. She's a great analyst. She's got a great mind. So I'm really looking forward to like this session. So for now, I'll just go ahead and hand over to you. And if people have questions, I will come up and we'll read them to you at the end. So over to you, Jacklyne.
Okay. Thank you so much, David, for having me tonight. For tonight's session, I'm gonna be a speaker for the night. My name is Jacklyne Mbuthia. I'm a cloud security engineer at CyberGuard Africa. I'm also the community manager for CyberGuard Africa, and besides that, I'm a cloud security researcher, especially for multi-cloud security. Friends, we've done some amazing work with David before, and I'm also a cloud security trainer, and I think that's much about me. So for today's session, we're going to be talking about how do we protect our cloud fortress with a focus on building efficient security operations. That's going to be our topic tonight, and I hope you get to learn some amazing things. Also, if you're trying out or you're new and getting started in cloud security, I hope this session sheds more light into your journey and you're able to understand the security operations of the site better. And if you're already setting up for your company, I hope this also sheds some light on how best you can go about architecting and some of the security missions that you can put into place to ensure that your cloud security operations are actually efficient. So without further ado, let's get into it. So when we talk about the cloud of, give me a minute. Yeah, I hope you can all see my screens.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So for today, we're going to be talking about different things. The first thing is we need to be able to understand the Azure Threat Landscape. 2, why do we actually need to understand the threat landscape? 3, how can we go about modernizing our security operations? And 4, how do we build a resilient defense system? So for today's session, those will be our 4 major things that we're going to be talking about. And I hope to be interesting enough for you. And if you do have any questions, please ask at the very end and we're going to answer to the best of my capability. So, I'm sorry, my screen. Okay, good. So when you talk about the Azure Threat Landscape and what are the security risks that are affecting our cloud environment? These are things that if we do not take care of them, they get to expose us to attacks. Also, these are issues that we can get.
Apologies to interrupt. Sorry, Jacklyne. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
So I think that something happened to your mic. So I think like it was really clear before, but I didn't think something happened with it. So it's sounding like a little bit distant, like the mic.
How about now? Has it?
Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Okay, fine. Oh, okay, fine. So can I continue? Okay. So when you talk about the threat landscape, these are the potential security threats and risks that we get to face in our cloud environment. The fact that the cloud is new and evolving, we're in a phase where we're seeing things as they grow. So even the threat landscape itself it's continuously.
Apologies to interrupt again. Sorry.
Yes.
So it was better, but then it went back again. I'm not sure. So it looks as if it was fixed, but then it went back again.
How is it now?
So it's still a little bit distant. No, a little bit distant. It was as if it moved away from your mouth. as if it needed to be closer.
How about now?
Yeah, so it sounded better now. If it's possible to stay that way, then that'll be good.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So apologies for the hiccups that are happening, but I hope that we still continue the session. So as we're talking about the threat landscape, we're saying that as the cloud continuously grows and the infrastructure grows, that's the threat landscape itself continuously grows. So when you talk about the threat landscape, we have things like the lack of visibility, the inadequate network security, that's a big change, the configured resources and database. All these things, if you actually follow up with executing such documents that I really rolled out, three of those things, lack of visibility doesn't retrieve actually the platform. Misconfigured resources and inside the threats really make up some of the security risks of the cloud environment facing. So I'm so sorry, give me a minute. I'm trying to sort my audio and I hope it's clear enough now. Um, I think at some point you guys will allow me to do this maybe offline so my audio can be a bit clear. Okay, let's try this. Okay, so when you talk about the threat landscape, these are the security risks and threats that the organization face. Some of them using the cloud. The thing is, it's not trying to say that the cloud is insecure. It's the fact that the cloud environment is continuously growing. Translates to our threat landscape itself is continuously growing. So I'm sorry. Let me just put off my audio and then we can continue smoothly.
So while Jacklyne is having a quick look at fixing that, so okay, let's see. So you can try that again, Jacklyne. Let's see. Let's see if the sound is all good now. So while Jacklyne is looking to fix that, Ibrahima, something I put recently, I'm not sure if you read about it, something in relation to a breach at Microsoft with regard to like the 35 terabyte of data that got breached because somebody uploaded an Azure
Because they
storage.
lost the keys.
Yeah. What's your what's around that? That's like a really, really crazy one.
Yes, unbelievable, but
But the situation is a very interesting one. You know what was interesting to me was because the keys were not actually just put like in the GitHub repo, but the keys were actually in the backup of two developer systems. They were uploaded to a GitHub repo.
yes, that's why I said it's unbelievable because
Yeah.
I can expect it from anybody, but for a company like that, it's a bit of weird.
Yeah, it's a very, very crazy world. Okay, let's see if Jacklyne is back now. Hello, Jacklyne.
Hi, David. I am back now. I hope my audio sounds better now.
I think this sounds better, yes. So we'll
Okay.
let you
Yes.
carry on with that.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Apologies.
So as we were saying, when you talk about the threat landscape, these are the things that, so think of it like this. You need to understand what issues am I facing? How do I come about them? For you to go about creating the strategy that you'll use to secure your cloud environment and make your operations efficient. So when you start with the threat landscape is what issues are we facing? Like in case, lack of visibility. You need to understand why we're having lack of visibility. This comes into place when you don't have adequate monitoring happening. Logging is usually a problem for most people. So ensuring that you get to understand that if I don't do my logging right, if I don't have my Azure monitor set up, I won't have visibility into my cloud environment, which will have you face what we normally call shadow IT, where you have resources deployed, but you cannot account for all resources. So some of these things are what help continuously make the landscape continue expanding. So lack of visibility, inadequate network security, which can lead to things like DDoS attacks. And to mitigate this, we have things like implementing Azure DDoS. We have data breaches, which can be because of access. Someone got access to your cloud environment when they shouldn't have gotten access to your environment, which can be mitigated by using different measures. Misconfigured resources is one of the things that you continuously deal with in the cloud, especially for people moving to the cloud. What happens normally is you find that your cloud environment is not limited to the people in your organization. So you have your developers uploading things to the cloud. I think I just got David talking about a scenario where um, keys and all that. So you find like, let's say your developers are writing their code, uploading it to the cloud, and they have these things like the keys and all that. But when they come to the storage of such things like the keys, they're not using the Azure Key Vault when the codes that are being put into the cloud are not scanned right for vulnerabilities. Translates to we're going to have issues in the cloud. If they're configuring virtual machines, how are they going about it? We need to also sensitize everyone who's using the cloud on the best measures they can use when the measures we use when deploying the cloud, but then there are the security checks that we bring into place to ensure that our deployments are actually secure. So tying the two together to ensure that the deployments we're pushing to the clouds are actually secure, it's very important because it will help us mitigate misconfigurations, reducing our landscape. Makes sense? So the next thing we get to talk about is insider threats. This is one of the things that we are never prepared for. You are never ready for an insider threat. You don't see it coming. However, there are things that you can get to do to ensure that the people that I work with, the employees under you, have less permissions under their belts that will allow them to be the perpetrators of such things. So enforcing things like less privilege, assign people permissions that they only need, and things like just-in-time access. Give people permissions for things only when they need them to, like just limit things. Also have things like access reviews to ensure that you're reviewing the permissions that people have and assign and strip permissions accordingly. When people no longer need that permission, strip them off that. So these are some of the things that make up the threat landscapes, and this was mainly to understand what exactly are we facing, how we're facing, and what are some of the things we can put into place to ensure that we reduce our threat landscape. In any case, understanding the threat landscape is very important. And the fact that we need to understand the threat landscape is because it also pours into the decisions that we get to make as a company. So it's important for you to understand the threat landscape, because if you don't understand the threat landscape, you will not be able to make decisions better. Like the next slide says, the main importance of understanding the threat landscape is to be able, one, to do secure cloud adoption. We are in an era where we're continuously seeing people move to the cloud. If your company is yet to move into the cloud, it's in early stages moving to the cloud. Understanding the threat landscape will help make the decisions that you're making about moving to the cloud more stable. So you get to understand that misconfiguration is one of the threat risks that we get to deal with. Even moving to the cloud, how will we go about ensuring that us as new people in the cloud, we don't get to deal with that, or we have less of that? Most times you are never 100% free of something, but you can be enshielded enough to ensure that if it ever happens, you're protected enough that nothing major will actually happen. So understanding the threat landscape will also affect your compliance decisions. The fact that the cloud is one of the places that has a lot of red tape, like HIPAA, GDPR, and the fact that you need to understand that what industry am I in, what are we dealing with, the type of data we handle, and based on the different regulations, where do we fall into place? Everything that we're doing, all our operations, are they compliant with HIPAA? Are they compliant with GDPR? Because we all know the repercussions that come with not complying with these regulations. So if you understand the threat landscape and how they can affect your compliancy, it's gonna tie to the decision you make when it comes to your compliance decisions. The other thing is risk management. You cannot prepare yourself for what you don't know about, right? So for you to be able to handle your risk better, create a better risk inventory, how you're going to go about continuously assessing your risks, you need to understand your landscape to be able to even decide that for us, I think these are the risks that we're going to be facing, and then come up with the visions on this how we're going to deal with them, avoid them, the whole four chains of dealing with risks. Now that comes into play. So everything ties into it. It's like every decision is backed onto another. It's a long chain of this decision affects this decision, and one cannot coexist without the other. The other thing is incident response. If your teams are aware of what they deal with, they will have alerts ready, they will have their rules ready, everything. They'll even have playbooks ready in case of such a thing occurs. So you'll see how it banks together. because it actually does. The last thing is continuous monitoring. You'll continuously monitor your environment for some of the things that you get to identify as your threats. And as you go on, you'll be like, oh, we actually found something new. This is the place where we get to plug in threat intelligence. So what threat intelligence is all about is they get to collect threat feeds on the different risks that are out there, how they're evolving, what new attack types are the attackers using, and all that. And they feed that into your security operations, which will help you be.
Oh, I think there was an internet connection drop on Jacklyne's end. So hopefully that gets resolved soon. Hopefully that gets resolved soon. So it's one of those things that still happen. Ibrahima, you were dealing with like an internet connectivity issue earlier. Hey, hello, Jacklyne, are you back? I don't think so. I think some internet connectivity issue going on. Okay.
Yes, I needed to change my my network.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting like, and I think Jacklyne's stuff dropped now. So, but I think she's back now. So let's bring her back. Hello, Jacklyne, are you back? Sorry, I think the internet connection dropped. So you were talking about monitoring when it dropped.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I can't explain why the demo gods have left my side tonight. I don't know why everything was just going wrong, but I think my internet is stable now.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, so let's carry on.
Okay, fine. So we're talking about continuous monitoring. This is the point where you get to identify these are the threats you're currently facing. How do you monitor for them in your environment? And also when you get to monitor, you get to be notified of other emerging threats. The thing with threats is it's never a static list. It's continuously growing. The attackers are always at play. Everyone is trying to find a new way to attack the cloud or just find something to just be in the cloud and be in your operations. So equally, you have to do the same to stay guard 24/7. Watch out and see these are the threats we've been facing. This is how we've been managed to monitor them so far. And this is what we're also thinking can be happening. So it's a case of now and also for seeing what is
Sorry,
likely to be
Jacklyne.
happening. I
We
think
lost the
my
share.
slides.
Yes, the slides. You don't see the slides. Yes, it's okay now.
Yeah, I think we're all
Thanks.
good. Yeah, not that far. Yeah, it's not just Samuel what you're saying. The thing with threat intelligence, it's gonna be nice if it's applied appropriately. Also, if the threat intelligence feeds are not accurate, it's gonna be misinformation. So it's a very thin line between this is information that will actually help organization, or this is just gonna be more things we add into our content that doesn't actually help us. So that's why you bring them into place, evaluate them. Every single time you have new information, you have to evaluate it fast. Is it actually logical or is it just gonna be noise? So it's equally very important. So in this whole scenario of this is our threat landscape, these are the elements. Now we get to work with these are the elements. We all know how it works in the cloud. There are three things: the people, processes, and the tools. So if you're working in the cloud, you need to understand what solutions are my CSP providing me that I can leverage to ensure that I have efficient cloud operations. For Azure, we have five things that work together. So we have Azure Monitor, Log Analytics Workspace, Microsoft Defender, Azure Security Center, and Azure Sentinel. Each does, they all work differently, but they all marry when whatever they get to do. With Azure Monitor, you deploy resources, right? And with Azure Monitor, you get to monitor for your resources. You monitor for your logs, metrics, changes, everything that you want to monitor is actually done with Azure Monitor. When it comes to Log Analytics Workspace, it's a question of all these logs that I'm collecting, where are they going? And how are we going to be storing them? For how long are we going to be storing them? Those are the questions you get to ask. What are we actually be what are we actually going to be doing with the logs that we're actually collecting? So with the log analytics workspace, it helps you cover that because you collect logs, they're organized into tables, and the tables are what you use to perform your analytics. This is where we get to see the power of KQL come into play. You have your log analytics tables, and then you use Gusto query language, which is we commonly call it KQL. So KQL, think of KQL as your normal SQL language. So the way you use SQL to query your tables for different things, same way in the cloud we use KQL to query our tables for information. The beauty about KQL is whatever you query, you can turn it into a rule that you can use in your environment to check for things. If something actually happens, you get an alert. So I like the fact that Microsoft tries to make their services all in one. Like you can use one thing for so many things at the same time, which is pretty impressive. Let's be honest. So the other thing is Microsoft Defender. Defender is what we call Defender combines the ability of two different things. A CSPM tool and a CWPP tool. CSPM is a cloud security posture management tool, and CWP is cloud workload platform protection. What Defender does in a nutshell, it assesses your environment, gives you secure score. So secure score is an abbreviation of how secure is your environment. So it tracks through all things and then assigns you secure score, and then also provides you with a recommendation of the things that you can put into place to ensure that your cloud environment is actually very secure. Okay, not very secure, but it's way better. It helps you improve your security posture. Now, as long as you move in the slides, you'll get to see I've attached screenshots of how each the dashboards look like. For anyone who's used the cloud, they can just understand what how each works in the dashboard. Dashboards kind of help you see things from a beginner's perspective. You get to see, oh, this is actually how things work, and these are the recommendations, so that it's all just all talk, but you can get to kind of understand what's actually happening. The other thing we get to work with is Azure Security Center and finally Sentinel. Sentinel is like the prize possession of Microsoft, and especially for Azure. I do feel like Sentinel has so many nice and amazing features. It's a tool that has so many applications or things you can leverage in one, which, let's be honest, really makes it an amazing tool. Sentinel is one of the things I personally enjoy working with a lot in the cloud because of its million and all functionalities. We're gonna see some of them along as we move along. So I hope you're gonna be tuning in for that part. So the next thing we get to talk about is the Azure Monitor. So this is the part where we get to talk about the tools that you're gonna be using in our cloud environment, especially for the security operations. The 5 tools, now this is what happens with them. So when you talk about Azure Monitor, it's for monitoring, as you said. So as you can see on the screen, it has 3 bits to it. Sources, how you're going about transforming your resources, and then the consumption bit. With data sources, you get to understand this is my cloud environment, my entire infra. What exactly can I plug into Azure Monitor for it to be monitored? You get to have the different things being monitored. Also, the ability for these tools to be able to integrate into your other clouds and on premise. Honestly, it's such an amazing thing. The fact that we're in an era where people are adapting a multi-cloud system. We have you'll find that your company is running still on an on-premise system, and you have Azure, AWS. So the ability of having a tool that you can connect all these other clouds into it and still get what you actually want to use that tool for is actually an amazing thing. So with Azure Monitor, we have monitoring, and it monitors other clouds, on-premise, and still Azure itself. The data you get to collect, you get to decide you're going to work with it. So there's a part where it does all the routing and transformation of it. You get to decide, these are my metrics, these are my logs, traces, and changes. How do I go about working with all this? And then consumption is, I'm transforming this raw data that I've gotten, but what am I transforming it into? So this is where you get to decide that for this, I want to create workbooks and visualize all this. For something else, maybe I want to move it to log analytics and use it to perform move it to log analytics workspaces and use it to perform my log analytics. Something else you can get to decide is I can integrate all this data that I'm getting into different things like event hubs, storage, and all that. The powers that you can do with all these, it's limitless. You can do so much with the data that you've collected. But the problem is if you don't actually collect this data. So hypothetically, imagine a case where something happened in your organization. You guys have just been deploying resources and you think that all these things are being monitored because most people assume that security just goes in the cloud. Security is your CSP's provider without realizing that you actually play a part into it. So security is a two-way job in the cloud. You do your part, your CSP does their part. So monitoring and logging is your responsibility. What the CSP does is it will provide you with the tools you need, but if you don't leverage on them, now that's on you. So let's imagine a case happened in your company and you got breached or something of the sort, and it was a thing of authentication, right? You haven't been logging your activity logs and all that. So you don't even know where to start. You don't even know where the table that you should be looking for to find the, or even the event IDs that you should be looking out for to be able to deal with these incidents. Something else is you realize that something had been happening in your systems a while back, but you can't even go back and retrace your steps because you didn't log that far back. Or if you log that far back, you either deleted the logs that you collected, or you didn't put them into some long-term storage of some sort. So understanding how to go about all this is what I'm logging. I need this, and why I need this is very important, as we'll see in the next slide. So this is basically what Azure Monitors does. This is the it's everything it does, which I think is very something else about Microsoft tools that you have to actually commend them for is most of their tools are pretty straightforward when it comes to understanding how they work and even using them themselves. So Microsoft has made their tools a bit more simpler. This is my opinion. I stand by it. As compared to the other CSPs, most of Microsoft tools are actually very user friendly for most people. So which is a plus. Something else we get to work with when it comes to security operations is the log analytics workspace. This right here is where it's think of it as your common repo for, I'd say dumping things, but this is where you bring everything. So this is where you collect and store all the logs that you collect. At this place, you've got to decide what logs do I want to collect, what type of logs am I looking for. Something else is how long am I going to be retaining them? This is where we continuously say create a retention policy that will cater to I'm going to be having my logs stored here for a period of X amount of time. And then afterwards, I'm going to be moving them to another long-term retention storage, which I will use for later things. Also, if I'm logging my things here, what am I doing with them? What analytics am I performing on them? This is where KQL comes into place, and you can get to perform analytics on the logs that you have actually collected. And also, the most important bit of everything is pricing model. The thing with the cloud is it's very efficient in its operation and how you get to use it, but you also have to think of the cost bit of things. I think you've all seen the memes where people say you got broke because you left your cloud instances running and all that. If you don't optimize your cloud operations to make sense monetary wise, you're gonna be running at a loss because they bill for different things. Some services will be billed per hour, some so you have to decide on the billing models you want for things and how best to go about approaching all that. So also something else is ingestion costs. If your data is in different parts, you see the way we store when we deploy resources, we're deploying them in different regions. Most times you'll find you deploying regions, things in different regions. The ingestion cost of trying to centralize all things can be actually expensive. So you need to decide about some things. That's why we can talk about security is not a last minute check. It's something that should be considered right from the inception of design. So when you're designing or architecting how everything in your cloud environment is going to be looking like, you have to decide about security, logging, and all this. So these things are mainly considered the last bit of things. Security operations for most people comes as the last bit of things where things have been running in the cloud, everything is working right, and they're like, oh, we have to do our security operations. However, it's one of the crucial things that should be considered right from inception of these resources are being deployed like this, and all these resources are being deployed. We're using this region, they're gonna be logged here. All that should be considered during your architecture stage. So it actually just helps you make better decisions, and you don't have to be caught pants down in the very end when you realize, oh, wait a minute, something we needed early on, we don't have it. So it just helps you stay aware of everything that's happening. Something else we get to work with is Defender. Defender is the CWPP CSPM combined tool. I think it's got a slide. Yes, so Defender for Clouds combines the capability of two things. So the CSPM, as you've said, and the CWPP. So what you can see on the screen is a hypothetical dashboard of how Defender actually works. So you can get to see it scans through all the subscriptions that you can have in your Azure environment. Also, if you have a multi-cloud environment, it checks through all that. There's a section you can see where the security posture is. You can get to see there's Azure for resources deployed on Azure, AWS for resources deployed on AWS, and GCP for resources on GCP. So for each, it assigns an individual secure score of how each is, and then the the cumulative secure score for all three. So something else it does is it has the recommendations bit that it checks, I think right above the secure score. You can see where the recommendations that are there, the overdue that you should have put into place, and then also something else is the compliance bit of things. So if you're in an industry where you're dealing with a different compliance, like you did you compliance something different, you can come add it there, and then it's gonna still check through it. So also inventory, it checks through all the existing resources you have in your cloud environment, and then just checks through everything. Workload protection does a similar thing. So on the dashboard side, there's so many functionalities of Defender that you get to see through and decide each and each. Like you just pick through and see this actually works. I can implement this. I want to turn the information I have maybe into workbooks. Decide I want to see the inventory that I have. I want to see the security alert that our team has created yet, and maybe I can create more just to ensure that we're actually secure. So it's Defender helps you do all that. So it's one of the tools that is very critical and important in your security operations. Something else I do feel is that if there's one team, I kept saying it as a joke, but if there's one team that overworks in Microsoft is a Microsoft Defender. They roll out defenders for like there's a defender that caters to almost everything. If you look through and read on the defenders documentation, there's a defender for almost everything that you'd need. Um, the documentation actually breaks them down easily, especially down in Microsoft LAN, on the different defenders that are there that can actually be leveraged. So it's very important in your cloud environment if you're running so many different things to just check out what best suits you that you can actually implement in your environment just to ensure that your security posture is better every single time. I hope you strive to improve your security posture because that's actually that's the objective in cloud security to ensure that for all your cloud resources, your security posture is continuously improving. So the last thing we get to work with is Sentinel. So Sentinel is a holy grail of everything. Sentinel encompasses two main features of it. So there's a bit that does the same operation, which is the security information and event management operation. And there's a bit that does the SOAR operations, where it does the security orchestration, automation, and response. So Sentinel has so many features, you get to collect things. So remember how I said everything works with each other, right? You see the resources you created and monitor, you log them onto the log analytics workspace. And okay, let's put Defender before that. So you deploy the resources and all that, they're monitored. Defender checks through and sees if there are any recommendations or changes that you can make to improve your cloud security posture. And then log analytics comes into place and they're like, everything you've collected, log here. These workspaces are what are connected to your Sentinel for them to be able to work efficiently. So you connect workspaces to Sentinel and then Sentinel continues the job. So you see how it's a whole chain and there's no part you can say can work without each other. So you have to ensure that at every stage of it, you're actually doing what is expected of you to ensure that you have optimal results at the very end of it and that your entire security operations actually very efficient. So with Sentinel, you get to collect all the data that you have, you detect, you investigate, and you get to respond. Sentinel has so many features to it. This is why you create your alert, and then if something happens, an event happens, the alert is actually initiated and you get to create the rules of how you want things to be. If something is actually an alert is triggered, what's the action that will happen to it? So ensuring that even the action that you put post the trigger, it's very important to understand how everything plays. Also, is if something happened and you want to look back at everything, there are playbooks and workbooks that help you with all that. You can do it maps your investigations in a very nice way that you can get to pinpoint that this attack started here, it moved like this was the point X, point Y, point Z, and continuously see what happened at every stage of how it traversed, which is actually amazing because you can get to create your own map and timelines of how things actually happen, responsible accounts, the resources that were actually affected, for you to come up with a conclusive talk on a conclusive guideline on what exactly happened if it's you're trying to map an attack. So Sentinel is very important. Also, something else it does that's very amazing is it has so many connectors to it. With Sentinel, you can connect different things. Also, you can connect your threat intelligence feeds. All these how we get to be in the security operations line gets to be tied into threat intelligence. The thing with all this is you can't have all this existing and fail to have threat intelligence, because this is the same data that also your threat intelligence people will be using to see what's happening and to be able to feed you back with the right information on what other possible threat factors in your field and how best you can go about ensuring that you are ready to deal with them when they do happen. So the other thing we're going to be looking at is the security. Uh, I think the slides are actually taking a bit longer to load. It's this the security operations board and functions. How does actually the security operations happen? So we have different tiers, and different tiers deal with different things. As individuals who are in tier one, they do a different thing as compared to those who are in tier two and in tier three. And as the tier goes up, that's how the escalation matrix continues. So tier one are your usual junior engineers who junior security junior SOC engineers who check through for attacks and all that improbable things, and then they notice something is off here. They go investigate it and then see, oh, it's something resolvable or something not extreme. If something needs to be escalated, it's always escalated to the tier above your existing tier. So if you're in tier one and you see something that's beyond the tier one reach, you escalate it to the tier two. And then tier two, they get to perform the advanced analysis on it. And if it escalates and the tier three decide this is something we need to look at and see how it actually happened, what's the behind story? Most times you actually want to understand what's the behind story behind an attack. It's not just how it happened, but it all happened why. So you need to understand this is how, and then why. So all these questions are very important to ask during your security operations. So each tier gets to do a different things, but they all coexist. So they all marry with each other and do things together. And the thing with this is you can also have external intelligence sources feeding into your current intelligence team to be able to help you make more informed decision. Something else we get to look at is the building of a resilient defense in the cloud. So we've gotten to look at the tools and the tools, the processes, and the people involved. Something else is resiliency in the cloud. How do you even build about resiliency? So something we talk about building proactive security measures. This is every single time you're aiming at reducing your mean time to remediate issues. So this is the time that an incident happened, but every single time an incident happens, your team is geared to actually ensuring that they respond to such attacks and incidences faster than they did the last time. So continual improvement is you're regularly trusting your environment, the rules that you have set up and the alerts, are they enough to catch what you actually want to catch? This is why you simulate attacks in your own field by yourself. There are days where your security team sit and just simulate attacks to see if all the measures you've put into place will actually work in the eventuality of an attack. So if it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board and then you structure everything to ensure that it actually works to cater to what you're targeting. Something else is visibility and monitoring. It's it's a whole chain, but it can't work without visibility and monitoring. You need it. This is where everything starts. So you ensure that you have visibility into your cloud environment. This helps for you to be able to catch things that are happening early enough and for you to be able to remediate and do the entire process with so much ease as compared to when things are happening and then it's helter skelter, you're running everywhere trying to fix these, and the most important thing is having a plan that dictates if anything of the sort happens, these are the procedures you'll follow, these are the people who are going to be involved, and these are the actions that are going to be taken is very important. The last thing is automating resources. Automate as much as you can and ensure that you have things to help you bounce back in the eventuality something happens. Backups are very important. Azure Site Recovery helps you in doing so much of your backups and ensuring that redundancy is there. So it's the last thing every single time, but it's very important because if something does happen, I hope your DR disaster recovery is strong enough or robust enough to help you bounce back to normal operations before you fix whatever is actually happening behind the scenes. So That's what we talk about when talking about a resilient defenses in the cloud. It's ensuring that all the measures you're putting into place they actually have a backup to it. If this doesn't work, we're actually ready to do this. We have a plan B for everything that we need to do in the cloud. The the broader version of how the modern security operations works looks like this. So at the core of it all, we have our analysis or hunters or people in the cloud. These are the people who get to do the SIEM operations, the SOAR operations, and some of them are very good and get to consult and offer expert assistance out there. So it's a whole chain that gets to work, see how every component work together. Um, the insights that are needed, the data that is needed for them to make the informed decisions, and how it all ties down. The thing with this is most times we work from a technical point of view and we do things as the technical bit of things, we do things and think that's okay. But there's a bit where you have to translate all the technical things you do to managerial people. And how do you go about doing all that? So you have to ensure that all the information you collect, you're able to put it in a form that anyone who's non-technical, managerial is able to understand it. Because otherwise it's just gonna be sound like you're rambling to them and not making so much sense, which is not what you're trying to go for. So you have to ensure as techies you can translate everything that's happening. Because let's be honest, in the case an attack happens, your senior management is not there to understand how they moved from this and this and this, the nitty gritties. They just want to know what didn't happen, why didn't it happen as it needed to happen, how best can we go about fixing this. For them, actually, the main concern is how fast can we go back to normal operations. So having the right answers to the questions they will ask, anticipating their questions, and then ensuring that all your operations are ready to answer questions in case of anything is very important. And it just ensures that you're actually ready for anything. And the last thing we get to talk about is my slides, and I don't leave it behind, is the pillars. This is the final bit which ties into the entire version of architecting before you even come to security operations. So we have identity and access management, cloud native security, network security, user awareness and training campaign, zero trust architecture, threat intelligence and monitoring, and data protection. These are different elements that actually bundle together to help build an efficient security operations. If I am, we continuously say that I am is the keys to the kingdom, right? So if the keys to your kingdom are jingling a little too low and the attacker can get them, it poses a threat to the organization. So ensuring that the architecting measures put into place in your IAM environment is very important. Cloud native security as well, very important. Network security, this is you need to ensure that all traffic in and out of your cloud environment is actually secure enough. All measures you need to put into place have been put into place. The beauty of security operations is it ties to what the architecture team does. So they feed into each other. So with architecting, they'll come say traffic is supposed to move like this, move here, point here, all that. And then the security bit of it is the understanding. If it's gonna move like this, what are we gonna be blocking? What allow list are we using? Are we putting all our network as network security groups? All that down to the nitty gritties. Ask the questions to be able to ensure that you're providing the right security opinions that can be used to make better decisions. User awareness and training campaign. We can do so much as individuals in security to protect our environment, but so long as the people who are actually working with these environments are not aware of the dangers that are out there, lacking out there, or how best they as an individual contribute to the entire security of the organization, it's gonna be a waste of like everything we get to do. So we have to ensure that we continuously sensitize our people on the one the secure deployment measures they can use. Find their deployment, but how can they think of security in their deployment? Two, how they're using the cloud resources. If they're using it in a way that they can actually be the ones kind of like pose a threat to they can impose a threat on themselves using to sensitize them on such things. Also, it's the small nitty gritties that they can actually do as individuals to ensure that they are secure, what they're doing is actually secure, which will all tie to this company security posture is actually impressive. So users, and also we all know the holy grail, the three things, we have people, processes, and technologies and tools. All three work together. There's no one thing that can say it works on its own. All three are interdependent, and ensuring that there's so much balance with how the three are coordinated is very important. Zero trust architecture is something that's continuously being talked about, especially right now. So ensuring that in your environment, you have to verify everyone. Like it's trust no one, verify all policy, which should be put into place. Threat intelligence monitoring and data protection is the last thing that we get to talk about when talking about modern security operations. All these different things come into place to ensure that you have an efficient security operations. The thing is, as you have actually said, a bit of a highlight. We started with talking about the threat landscape, which is very important because we need to understand what threats are we facing, how do we come about to, how do we even get to these threats? Two, what strategies can we put into place in the environment to ensure that we're dealing with less and less and more of these threats? We want to talk about what are the tools or the elements that we need in our security operations center to ensure that we can actually be ready for such events in the eventuality they happen. There are different tools leveraged the different tools that the CSPs provide that you can leverage to ensure that your environment is actually secure. But intend to see how is a security operation structured to just to see that if your security operations is not structured like that, is there something you can restructure or tweak around to see how best your security operation can function better? Lastly, it's talking about cyber resiliency and defense operations. How do you go about ensuring that everything in your security in your cloud environment is actually secure and defense operations actually at their best capacity? So I think that's in a nutshell, that is what we get to talk about when we talk about security operations. I'm so sorry about the small technicalities here and here about the audio and the video, but I do hope that you've actually grasped something that's gonna be helpful to you to implement in your cloud environment, or if you're learning and all that, this actually sheds more light to you to be able to understand cloud security better. Yeah.
Awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Thanks very much for sharing that, Jacqueline. Thanks very much for sharing that with us. So I do have some comments in the chat window that I'll just go ahead and bring up to you. So you've seen the comment from Samuel about threat intelligence and noise and
Yes.
Intel being applied correctly. Yeah.
So the thing with threat intelligence is it's tricky. One, how do you actually verify that the information you've been given is genuine and you can use it to make decisions? So it's a very thin line between understanding that the information collected is genuine and you can use it. That's why sometimes it's tricky to trust information that's not from intelligence experts. I do believe that some of these things we should just get them from the intelligence experts themselves, because for them this is what they do. Same way for us we do mainly maybe in our day to day we architect, we engineer. For them they sit and do extensive research, and they're able to see some of these threats. They've studied them for a long time for them to determine that this is actually a worthwhile threat to be looked at. And this is just it's noise but with some bit of truth to it, so we can monitor it to see how it goes, and if it's not realistic we can drop it. But the thing with information, it can be tricky.
See, nice. Thanks very much for that. So, Doctor seems to be talking about cost here. Any ideas with regards to? I'm a small company. I don't have deep budget, security operations. All this log seems to be costly, and all these solutions. Any suggestions?
It's, well, yeah, Microsoft is not cheap. Neither is all other these clouds. The thing is, it's how you get to use the cloud, how you're optimizing your costs. You get to sit and look through everything. Anything that you can get to identify that you can maybe minimize or optimize it to have less cost, you get to look at it and actually do that. The thing with cloud is it's not cheap, but it's important, and all the features they actually give you are very important in your environment. The only thing you have to do is optimize your cost to ensure that you're within your budget, and every other alternative you can use that serves the same purpose but is cheap. You know, the whole point of sitting and looking at a matrix and calculator and seeing option A versus option B and weighing them out and seeing which option you can go with is very important. Optimize your costs and go for the solution that makes more sense.
Wow, awesome. And I can see someone says he always try to talk about the conversation from cost to value.
Oh
So
yeah, that's
Yeah. So, okay, I think well, let me bring my email back. So I think that is a comment about the slides are great. So
Thank
is that
you.
something that will be shared? Is that something that will be shared maybe like on your repo somewhere that people can access?
Yeah, sure thing. I think I'll actually upload them also on my different. I'll share them with David for him to share them on the description channel for this particular video, and then they can also find them on my Twitter account. That's Bugs and Bugs on Twitter, and LinkedIn. It's at Jacklyne Mbuthia. So find a way to put them out there for the people to access them.
Yeah, nice. So actually, like, because we brought that up, so we have like Jacqueline's Twitter on the screen. So make sure you follow her. So Bugs and Bags. That's a very very interesting name. Is there? Do you catch bugs and you put them in your bags, or where is the name Bugs and Bags?
Uh,
Where did that come from?
Well, it's a funny story, but Bugs and Bugs was a representation of my two personalities. So, but the first Bugs is definitely being a techie. Before being a cloud security engineer, I used to be a software developer. So half my day I used to deal with bugs. So can be frustrating, can be interesting. So that's what I used to do a lot. Explains where the name Bugs came from,
Hmm.
and then the other bit is bugs. I catch the bugs to be able to afford the bugs lifestyle.
Oh, I
So it's like
see.
so it's like I want to work so hard to be able to achieve a good lifestyle. So the bugs will fund the bugs.
Nice. Got it. Got
Yes.
it. Yeah. Any additional questions or stuff that you want to add, Ivaima? Please go ahead. I know that you can
Uh,
I can hear your child in the background.
Yes, I don't see any additional question. By the way, great presentation. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Don't see any additional questions.
Yeah, I can see any in
And
the
for
chat
myself,
window.
it's quite clear, so well explained. And I agree with the DR shouldn't be an issue to afford some, let's say, security feature shouldn't be a premium SKU.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks very much for that. Jacqueline, again, very, very
yes.
interesting presentation. Much appreciated. So
Thank you
before
so
we
much.
go, so we'll let Jacqueline go now. So
Yes.
thanks very much again. Much appreciated. We'll see you next time. But before we go for the audience,
Thank you, Jacqueline.
yeah, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Jacqueline. So for the audience, just to mention that we do have like some messaging that I'll play from our sponsor, Caris Cloud. So however, I put some information in the chat window, which is Caris Cloud would be delivering a course next week on Azure pen testing for ethical hackers. Now, just for our case, Caris Cloud has decided to do a pay what you can um, option for people that may not be able to afford the cost of the course, and pay what you can to register for the course. So I've put the information in the chat window, so make sure you get that information. You can follow that link to get information about the course itself and the different modules that are covered. And then there's a PayPal link there that payment can be made to in terms of pay what you can. And you can put your name, your email, and your phone number, and then Caris Cloud will get back to you with regards to making sure that you're registered for the course. So if you want to make sure you do that as quickly as possible, because I believe that only a few spaces are left. And again, that will be for a pen testing for Azure, pen testing Azure for ethical hackers course. Any other thing that you want to add, Vaima, before we play the sponsors message and then we call it a day? Anything else to add?
Just go and register, guys. You will have some great training. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button for this channel.
Yep.
Also, don't forget.
Yes, please do so. So thanks very much
And
again,
that's
everyone.
it.
Go ahead. Yeah, and awesome. So thanks very much again, everyone. So see you next time. For now, we'll play the message from the sponsor and we'll see you next time. Have a lovely rest of the day. Hello, I'm David Okeode, physical instructor at Kavis Cloud, 4 times Microsoft MVP, and author of multiple books on cloud security. I would like to speak with you about our courses at Kavis Cloud. First, we are cloud security focused. We maintain an unbiased stance towards vendors, and we cut through all the typical marketing jargon in many trainings out there. We help you to understand things as they really are. The second thing that's unique about our courses is that we are multi-cloud focused. Our multi-cloud security courses covers the top 3 public cloud platforms out there: AWS, Azure, and GCP. Our instructors are not just trainers, they are seasoned professionals with real-world experience. The third reason is that our training modules are designed to provide practical hands-on experience. Our courses are packed full of hands-on labs that you find engaging and interesting. And finally, our prices are the best out there. I encourage you to check out our upcoming courses on our website and also testimonials from our students. See you soon at www.kaviscloud.com.